Hey, hey, hey. Welcome back, Mr. Carter. I don't know where that came from. Good morning. It is your girl, Courage Molina, Pastor Courage Molina of Bold Faith Community Church. Welcome to our Mornings in the Word. Today is day 100. We have been at this 100 days. Can y'all believe that? We have been at this 100 days. Go ahead and drop a little emoji in the chat. If you're like, yes, day 100. Even if you haven't been here 100 days, celebrate with us that we've been here 100 days. While I put some lip gloss on because I don't want my lips to be, I want to be licking my lips like LL Cool J. Okay. Drop it in the chat. If this is your first time with us, what's good? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit the notification button. This is the perfect place for the woman who wants to be bolder in her faith, more confident in her call, and courageous in her pursuits. And our morning in the Word, what we're doing here is just building the daily habit of getting in the Word of God consistently and reading through the Word. It's so good. Reading through the Word. And we done been through some tough spots now. We have been through some tough spots in this word. But now we're in something that okay, we're about to he's about to I was about to say Saul. Samuel is about to crown Saul king or find a king or whatever. That's what we're about to read today because we're going to be reading 1 Samuel chapters 9 through 12. There's a lot of chapters 9, 10, 11, 12. Yes, I use my fingers. 4 chapters. Well, I guess that's not so bad. Because Israel, we just finished Judges a few days ago, or Judges and Ruth, but Israel's just been acting up, and this is a time where they didn't want to judge, and now they want a king. They want to be like everybody else. They want to be basic. They don't want to be set apart and different and have the Lord as their king. They're rejecting the Lord as king, and now they want a man who's gonna be taking their kids and taking their property and all that. So the Lord's like, that's what they want. Go ahead, give it to them. Go ahead, give it to them. And so now here we are, chapter 9. There was a wealthy, influential man named Kish from the tribe of Benjamin. He was the son of Abiel, son of Zerar, son of Bechorath, son of Aphiah of the tribe of Benjamin. His son Saul was the most handsome man in Israel. Okay, Saul was fine. He was given. Okay. Head and shoulders taller than anyone else in the land. And he was tall. Well, hello, Saul. Okay. One day, Kish's donkey strayed away, and he told Saul, take a servant with you and go look for the donkeys. So Saul took one of the servants and traveled through the hill country of Ephraim, the land of Shalisha, the Shalom area, and the entire land of Benjamin. But they couldn't find the donkeys anywhere. Finally, they entered the region of Zuph, and Saul said to his servant, let's go home. By now, my father will be more worried about us than about the donkeys. But the servant said, I've just thought of something. There is a man of God who lives here in this town. He is held in high honor by all the people because everything he says comes true. Let's go find him. Perhaps he can tell us which way to go. But we don't have anything to offer him, Saul replied. Even our food is gone, and we don't have anything to give him. Well, the servant said, I have one small silver piece. We can at least offer it to the man of God and see what happens. In those days, if people wanted a message from God, they would say, let's go and ask the seer, for the prophets used to be called seers. All right, Saul agreed. Let's try it. So they started into the town where the man of God lived. As they were climbing the hill to the town, they met some young women coming out to draw water. So Saul and his servant asked, is the seer here today? Yes, they replied. Stay right on this road. He is at the town gates. He has just arrived to take part in a public sacrifice up at the place of worship. Hurry and catch him before he goes up there to eat. The guests won't begin eating until he arrives to bless the food. So they entered the town, and as they passed through the gates, Samuel was coming out toward them to go up to the place of worship. Now the Lord had told Samuel the previous day, about this time tomorrow I will send you a man from the land of Benjamin. Anoint him to be the leader of my people Israel. He will rescue them from the Philistines, for I have looked down on my people in mercy and have heard their cry. Baby. Somebody is going into a season where you think you just going to find some donkey. You think you just going off to find something, but what you don't understand is that there is a divine appointment. You don't know that there's a divine appointment. The Lord has already told somebody that you've never seen about you. You're getting ready to enter not just into a season, but into a room. You're getting ready to walk into a room, into a place, into a space where you don't know those people, but there is somebody that God has already called to bless you. Somebody need to receive that. Verse 17. When Samuel saw Saul, the Lord said, "That's the man I told you about. He will rule my people." Just then Saul approached Samuel at the gateway and asked, "Can you please tell me where the seer's house is?" "I am the seer," Samuel replied. "Go up to the place of worship ahead of me. We will eat there together, and in the morning I'll tell you what you want to know and send you on your way. And don't worry about those donkeys that were lost 3 days ago, for they have been found, and I'm here to tell you that you and your family are the focus of all Israel's hopes." Saul replied, "But I'm only from the tribe of Benjamin, the smallest tribe in Israel, and my family is the least of all the families of that tribe. Why are you talking to me like this?" Sounds like Gideon. Gideon said, "My family is the smallest, and I'm the weakest. And my family is the least important of all the families of the tribe." Well, our tribe not that big, and my family ain't even big in the small little tribe that we got. So why are you saying that my family, where I come from, we don't rank high? Where I come from, we the last to get anything. Where I come from, we're not as good as the other people. Where I come from, I'm not the right pick, but the Lord has chosen you. Come on, this is so good. Why are you talking to me like this? Verse 22. Then Samuel brought Saul and his servant into the hall and placed them at the head of the table, honoring them above the 30 special guests. Samuel then instructed the cook to bring Saul the finest cut of meat, the piece that had been set aside for the guest of honor. So the cook brought in the meat and placed it before Saul. "Go ahead and eat it," Samuel said. "I was saving it for you even before I invited these others." Somebody was invited to a dinner. I promise you, I'm just going to read. Somebody was invited to a dinner. They knew about the dinner. They were invited to the dinner. They were invited to the feast, but you just so happened, random. It just so coincidentally, you just happen to be in the neighborhood looking for some donkey, looking for something that's real basic and normal. Little did you know that there was a dinner being created in your honor. I was saving it for you even before I invited these others. Now that just made my spirit feel good. So Saul ate with Samuel that day. When they came down from the place of worship and returned to town, Samuel took Saul up to the roof of the house and prepared a bed for him there. At daybreak the next morning, Samuel called to Saul, "Get up. It's time you were on your way." So Saul got ready and he and Samuel left the house together. When they reached the edge of town, Samuel told Saul to send his servant on ahead. After the servant was gone, Samuel said, "Stay here, for I've received a special message for you from God." Mm, 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 mm. There's a special message for you from God. That's not exciting to y'all. Chapter 10. Then Samuel took a flask of olive oil and poured it over Saul's head. He kissed Saul and said, "I am doing this because the Lord has appointed you to be the ruler over Israel, his special possession." No, he wasn't voted on. No, he did not apply. No, he didn't necessarily have credentials. No, he didn't have the right title. No, he didn't have the right family ranking. No, he wasn't from the right tribe. But guess what? It was the right tribe because the Lord chose him. I am doing this because the Lord has appointed you to be ruler over Israel, his special possession. When you leave me today, you will see two men beside Rachel's tomb at Zelzah on the border of Benjamin. They will tell you that the donkeys have been found and that your father has stopped worrying about them and is now worried about you. He is asking, "Have you seen my son?" When you get to the Oak of Tabor, you will see three men coming toward you who are on their way to worship God at Bethel. One will be bringing 3 young goats, another will have 3 loaves of bread, and the third will be carrying a wineskin full of wine. They will greet you and offer you 2 of the loaves which you are to accept. When you arrive at Gibeah of God, where the garrison of the Philistine is located, you will meet a band of prophets coming down from the place of worship. They will be playing a harp, a tambourine, a flute, and a lyre, and they will be prophesying. At that time, the Spirit of the Lord will come powerfully upon you, and you will prophesy with them. You will be changed into a different person. After these signs take place, do what must be done, for God is with you. Then go down to Gilgal ahead of me. I will join you there to sacrifice burnt offerings and peace offerings. You must wait for 7 days until I arrive and give you further instruction. Don't you wish you could get a prophetic word that's that in that's that detailed, so that when I go across the street, I want the Lord to tell me, go to this conference. When you go to this conference, you're gonna see this lady. She's gonna have a red hat and some black tennis shoes, and she's gonna tell you that there's a lady in another room that wants you to see her. Then I want you to go down the room. You're gonna go down 2 sets of stairs. Don't you want this? I want this. This what right here. This the type of prophetic word I want right here. That's just boom, 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 boom. And then in a few minutes, it's gonna happen. I know that sometimes we get those words and we still don't really follow it or whatever, but I just feel like I want to do doom, 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 doom. I want the Lord to tell me doom, 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 just like this. This is like a grocery list. I would love it. Verse 9. As Saul turned and started to leave, God gave him a new heart. And all Samuel's signs were fulfilled that day. He said you're going to be a new person. And what made him a new person was not his title. What made him a new person is that God gave him a new heart. Is there anybody that you want God to give you a new heart? Is there anybody in your life you want God to give them a new heart? Because it's not in changing their behaviors or their mindset or any of that. It's in changing their heart. Okay, come on, God. That was for me. That's good. When Saul and his servants arrived at Gibeah, they saw a group of prophets coming toward them, just like he said. Okay. Then the Spirit of God came powerfully upon Saul, just like he said. And he too began to prophesy, just like he said. When those who knew Saul heard about it, they exclaimed, "What? Is even Saul a prophet? How did the son of Kish become a prophet?" And one of those standing there said, "Can anyone become a prophet no matter who his father is?" So that is the origin of the saying, "Is even Saul a prophet?" When Saul had finished prophesying, he went up to the place of worship. "Where have you been?" Saul's uncle asked him and his servant. "We were looking for the donkeys," Saul replied, "but we couldn't find them, so we went to Samuel to ask where they were." "Oh, and what did he say?" his uncle asked. "He told us that the donkeys had already been found," Saul replied, but Saul didn't tell his uncle what Samuel said about the kingdom. Mm. Let me not tell my uncle about this. He might be mad. He might be jealous. I don't know why he didn't tell him, but he ain't tell him. Maybe he didn't believe it. Also, it's a possibility he didn't believe it. Verse 17. Verse 17. Later, Samuel called all the people of Israel to meet before the Lord at Mizpah, and he said, "This is what the Lord, the God of Israel, has declared. I brought you from Egypt and rescued you from the Egyptians and from all of the nations that were oppressing you. But though I have rescued you from your misery and distress, you have rejected your God today and have said, 'No, we want a king instead.' Now, therefore, present yourselves before the Lord by tribes and clans." So Samuel brought all the tribes of Israel before the Lord, and the tribe of Benjamin was chosen by lot. Then he brought each family of the tribe of Benjamin before the Lord, and the family of the Midrites was chosen. And finally, Saul, son of Kish, was chosen from among them. But when they looked for him, he had disappeared. So they asked the Lord, "Where is he?" And the Lord replied, "He is hiding among the baggage." So they found him and brought him out, and he stood head and shoulders above anyone else. So the Lord told Samuel, I just want to make sure. The Lord told Samuel that he was going to meet somebody. Then Saul just went off on a random errand looking for the donkey. Then Saul and Samuel meet. Samuel tells him, "Come up to this dinner." He anoints his head with oil right there, telling him that this is the anointed of God. He's going to be king. He says, "This is the dinner that I prepared for you. Had this food set aside for you before I invited all these people." And then he gave him a prophetic word, and then he sent him down. And then when he went down in front of all the people that he called out, the clans and the tribes that he called out, instead of just saying, "Hey, Saul is king," he cast lots, which means it's like throwing dice, kind of. It's like a random, it's like drawing straws, right? So we're going to take these dice. We're going to take the dice, right? Throw the dice. We're going to throw the dice and we're going to see where they lay. But then they laid exactly where they needed to lay in alignment with Saul. So it seemed to the people, it looked like to the people, this was all being decided right now by Lot. It was actually had already been decided by God. So sometimes you can flip a coin. The answer ain't coming from the coin. The answer is coming from the Lord. Sometimes you could just flip a coin. Lord, should I go here or there? Speak to me through the coin. The Lord can speak to you through anything he wants to. Just saying. Verse 24. Then Samuel said to all the people, "This is the man the Lord has chosen as your king. No one in Israel, no one in all Israel is like him." And all the people shouted, "Long live the king." Then Samuel told the people what the rights and duties of king were. He wrote them down on a scroll and placed it before the Lord. Then Samuel sent the people home again. When Saul returned to his home at Gibeah, a group of men whose hearts God had touched went with him. But there were some scoundrels who complained, "How can this man save us?" And they scorned him and refused to bring him gifts. But Saul ignored them. Some people are going to be mad because the Lord has chosen you. Don't be mad because the Lord has chosen somebody else. Nahash, king of the Ammonites, had been grievously oppressing the people of Gad and Reuben who lived east of the Jordan River. He gouged out the right eye of the Israelites living there, and he didn't allow anyone to come and rescue them. In fact, of all the Israelites east of the Jordan, there wasn't a single one whose right eye Nahash had not gouged out. But there were 7,000 men who had escaped from the Ammonites, and they had settled in Jabesh Gilead. Chapter 11. About a month later, King Nahash of Ammon led his armies against the Israelite town of Jabesh Gilead. But all the citizens of Jabesh asked for peace. "Make a treaty with us, and we will be your servants," they pleaded. "All right," Nahash said, "but only on one condition. I will gouge out the right eye of every one of you as a disgrace to all Israel." "Give us 7 days to send a messenger throughout Israel," replied the elders of Jabesh. "If no one comes to save us, we will agree to your terms." When the messengers came to Gibeah of Saul and told the people about their plight, everyone broke into tears. Saul had been plowing a field with his oxen, and when he returned to town, he asked, "What's the matter? Why is everyone crying?" So they told him about the message from Jabesh. Then the Spirit of God came powerfully upon Saul, and he became very angry. He took 2 oxen and cut them into pieces and sent the messengers to carry them throughout Israel with this message: "This is what will happen to the oxen of anyone who refuses to follow Saul and Samuel into battle." The Lord made the people afraid of Saul's anger, and all of them came out together as one. When Saul mobilized them at Bezek, he found that there were 300,000 men from Israel and 30,000 men from Judah. So Saul sent the messengers back to Jabesh Gilead to say, "We will rescue you by noontime tomorrow." There was great joy throughout the town when that message arrived. The men of Jabesh then took their enemies. "Tomorrow we will come out to you," and you then told their enemies, "Tomorrow we will come out to you, and you can do to us whatever you wish." But before dawn the next morning, Saul arrived. Having divided his army into 3 detachments, he launched a surprise attack against the Ammonites and slaughtered them the whole morning. The remnant of their army was so badly scattered that no two of them were left together. Then the people exclaimed to Samuel, "Now where are those men who said, 'Why should Saul rule over us?' Bring them here and we will kill them." But Saul replied, "No one will be executed today, for today the Lord has rescued Israel." Then Samuel said to the people, "Come, let us all go to Gilgal to renew the kingdom." So they all went to Gilgal, and in a solemn ceremony before the Lord, they made Saul king. Then they offered peace offerings to the Lord, and Saul and all the Israelites were filled with joy. First of all, they was like, "Remember those people who said that Saul not king? Go get them, line them up. Now who the king?" So Saul's like, "No, we good, fam." Couple of things. So he's anointed, he's chosen. They tell them that he's going to be king, and then he's just doing like regular stuff. He's probably just doing what he's always done. He's not sitting around not doing what he always did and not doing anything new because he don't know what to do. You hear what I'm saying? He was elevated, he got promoted, he got a new position, he was anointed, presented as the king. There were people who said they were with him, and there were people who were like, "Why should he be king over us? How can he help us?" But instead of sitting around thinking about what do kings do, what am I supposed to do as a king? Instead of sitting around doing nothing because he didn't know what to do as a king, he just went to doing what he always did. He just went back to doing the work he had been doing until the opportunity presented itself for him to do something different. And to the Lord ushered in an opportunity for him to do something else. I also love that he talks about his anger. I think sometimes we act like anger is sin. Being mad is not sin. What we do, don't allow our anger can cause us to sin. Right? So what you do because you're mad might be a sin, but being mad in and of itself is not. He got some straightening. He went from just doing what he always did to, in a moment, having an army of 330,000 men ready to go into battle. Crazy to me. Chapter 12, our last chapter. Then Samuel addressed all Israel. I have done as you've asked and given you a king. Your king is now your leader. I stand here before you, an old gray haired man, and my sons serve you. I have served as your leader from the time I was a boy to this very day. Now testify against me in the presence of the Lord and before his anointed one. Whose ox or donkey have I stolen? Have I ever cheated any of you? Have I ever oppressed you? Have I ever taken a bribe and perverted justice? Tell me, and I will make it right, whatever I have done wrong. No, they replied, you have never cheated or oppressed us, and you have never taken even a single bribe. The Lord and his anointed one are my witnesses today, Samuel declared, that my hands are clean. Yes, he is a witness, they replied. It was the Lord who appointed Moses and Aaron, Samuel continued. He brought your ancestors out of the land of Egypt. Now stand here quietly before the Lord as I remind you of all the great things the Lord has done for you and your ancestors. When the Israelites were in Egypt and cried out to the Lord, he sent Moses and Aaron to rescue them from Egypt and to bring them into this land. But the people soon forgot about the Lord their God, so he handed them over to Sisera, the commander of Hazor's army, and also to the Philistines and to the king of Moab, who fought against them. Then they cried to the Lord again and confessed, we have sinned by turning away from the Lord and worshiping the images of Baal and Ashtoreth, but we will worship you and you alone if you will rescue us from our enemies. Then the Lord sent Gideon, Bedan, Japheth, and Samuel to save you, and you lived in safety. But when you were afraid of Nahash, the king of Ammon, you came to me and said that you wanted a king to reign over you, even though the Lord your God was already your king. All right, here is the king you have chosen. You asked for him, and the Lord has granted your request. Now, if you fear and worship the Lord and listen to his voice, and if you do not rebel against the Lord's commands, then both you and your king will show that you recognize the Lord as your God. But if you rebel against the Lord's commands and refuse to listen to him, then his hand will be as heavy upon you as it was upon your ancestors. Now stand here and see the great things the Lord is about to do. You know that it does not rain at this time of the year during the wheat harvest. I will ask the Lord to send thunder and rain today. Then you will realize how wicked you have been in asking the Lord for a king. So Samuel called to the Lord, and the Lord sent thunder and rain that day, and all the people were terrified of the Lord and of Samuel. Pray to the Lord your God for us, or we will die, they all said to Samuel. For now we have added to our sins by asking for a king. Don't be afraid, Samuel reassured them. You have certainly done wrong, but make sure now that you worship the Lord with all your heart and don't turn your back on him. Don't go back to worshiping worthless idols that cannot help or rescue you. They are totally useless. The Lord will not abandon his people because they would dishonor his great name. The Lord will not The Lord will not abandon his people because that would dishonor his great name. For it has pleased the Lord to make you his very own people. As for me, I will certainly not sin against the Lord by ending my prayers for you, and I will continue to teach you what is good and right. But be sure to fear the Lord and faithfully serve him. Think of all the wonderful things he has done for you. But if you continue to sin, you and your king will be swept away. That's it for today. I love that. So it's like Samuel's State of the Union address. It's his farewell address. Not that he's leaving, but he has been the judge. He's been the one making the decisions and talking to God, and he'll continue to be the one to talk to God. But he's been the one making the decisions. But now you have a king. And so I'm not in charge no more. I'm stepping to the side. Y'all don't want the Lord as y'all king. So now y'all got this dude. And in that, he's reminding them, it's crazy how they begged and they begged and they begged. He told them what would happen, and they still wanted a king. And so now they got this king. And so now he's reminding them of all the things that he's done for them, all the things that the Lord has done for them, and how they rejected God by still wanting a king. And he's like, now that's a sin. And if that's not a sin, let me show you, let it rain. And then it rains. So it's like, y'all wanted it, y'all getting it. Oh, by the way, it was sinful for y'all to ask for it. But no. No, don't worry now. You didn't got it. But from now on, be sure that you follow the Lord. Absolutely love that. Love that. All right, that's it. I hope that today has blessed you. Again, if this is your first time, be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Now, listen, if you have chosen a verse that you want to break down today, remember that you can go to boldfaithchurch.org. Let me see if I can get it up there for you. You can go to boldfaithchurch.org. It's okay. It's covering the other one. And you can download the free Bible study journal. It's going to teach you how to break down just one verse at a time, just one little verse at a time. It's going to help you to do that. It's going to help you to become bolder in your faith, more confident in your call, and courageous in your pursuits. And that's what we're all about here at Bold Faith Community Church. All right, I love you, and I'll see you next time. Later.